Welcome back. So we will continue with coordinate geometry, and the topic for discussion would be Cartesian system. So what is Cartesian system? Let us take a look. First, I will draw number lines horizontally and vertically, and then we will see how is the Cartesian system constructed using our number lines. So let's say I have my horizontal number line. We know that suppose this is the center, it is marked by 0 and we have equidistant points, and this line extends indefinitely in the positive as well as in the negative direction. I mark this as x dash, O and x. So the positive side is referred to as x and the negative side is x dash. I will mark my numbers on the number line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and the list goes on. Similarly, I have -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. So this is my vertical number line. What if I just flip it vertically? How would it look? So this is my number line. I have just flipped it vertically. So if you draw a number line horizontally in your textbook and you just tilt it, your horizontal line, number line will now look vertical, right? So let's say this stays as O, my center, and then I have points let this be my center. So I have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6 and -7. Similarly, +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So now I had this axis, the number line named as x, x, O, x dash. Similarly, I am going to name this as y, O, y dash. Just for clarity that this is a horizontal line and this is the vertical line. So now what if I place this line on top of this line? What will I get? Let me draw that for you. This is my y, this is my y dash, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Don't take into consideration that this was only 8, this is -7 and then you have -4 and 7 and then you have 1 to 10 and you know numbers. Don't worry about the numbers because this line is going to extend indefinitely. That is why it has an arrow which says that the line is just going to keep extending and you will have infinite numbers on each side of the number line. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7 and -8. And oh, I have made a mistake. This line is supposed to be on the origin, not here. So this was my origin here and this was my 1. So let me just redraw the line again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is my y. This is my y dash. Similarly, 1, 2. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. Right? And this center. So what is the now first of all, this is the Cartesian system that we will be using for determining the location of points. Okay, so it is made up of a horizontal number line and a vertical number line. This horizontal number line, we call it I am erasing this line. The horizontal number line is referred to as XO X dash, and it is also known as X axis. And this vertical line YO Y dash is known as the Y axis. So if you notice, these number lines are no more called number lines in the Cartesian system, they are known as axes. The singular is AX IS axis and the plural is AX ES. So if you are saying the X and Y axis, you are going to say X and Y AX ES, right? And they meet at this point, the meeting point, just like we assume for the number line, the center is 0. For the Cartesian system in coordinate geometry, O is also known as the origin. It's assumed to be the origin where both your axes originate from, and the coordinates of this point are 0, 0, right? Now another thing, if you see that this is an entire plane, it is dividing, so this is this entire thing is known as the xy plane or the coordinate plane, okay? Also, it's dividing my plane into 4. These lines are these axes are dividing my plane into 4 equal parts. So these parts 1, 2, 3, 4 are known as quadrants. So you start with your quadrants in the anti-clockwise direction, starting from this one. So first of all, if you notice, this section is positive, right? Everything is positive here, so this is the positive side. Here if you notice, your x plane, your x axis is negative and your y axis is positive. So this is the first quadrant first of all, this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant, right? So now here your x axis is positive and your y axis is positive. So the coordinate planes, the coordinates here are going to be represented by plus and plus. First of all, any point in your plane is going to be represented as x comma y. So if you take a point P over here, how are you going to find point P? By representing it through x and y, where x and y are the coordinates. We will see what exactly is x and y, but just try and understand, x will be for the x axis and y will be for the y axis. So here, since your x axis is positive and your y axis is positive, the coordinates would be plus and plus. Similarly over here, your x axis is negative. So in the second quadrant, you have your x coordinate as negative and y coordinate as positive. Similarly, in your third section, both the x axis and y axis have negative numbers, therefore the coordinates here would be negative and negative. And finally, in your fourth quadrant, the x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is negative. So the points in your fourth quadrant would be plus and minus, okay? Now let's see, I am erasing this. So if I have a point P, let's say point P, and I want to find its coordinates. Now P is obviously going to be represented by x and y. So what I am going to do is draw a perpendicular line here and a perpendicular line here. So what is its distance? From now 0 to 4 is the x distance for P. So x is going to be, this is the same as this distance. So this is going to be 4, right? And this distance is the same as this distance, which is 0 to 5. So 5. So the coordinates of P are 4 and 5. So what are these coordinates now? We will understand that. So I'll be introducing you to few new terms. The x coordinate or abscissa, and the second term is y coordinate or ordinate. So what is your x coordinate? X coordinate is the perpendicular distance of a point from the y axis. So remember we had P over here. So the perpendicular distance from this point to the y axis is called the abscissa. So the abscissa of point P is what? It is 4. This is the perpendicular distance, right, from the y axis. So the abscissa here, which is nothing but x is equal to 4 for point P. And what is y coordinate or the ordinate? The y coordinate is the perpendicular distance of any point, let's say point P, from the x axis. So what is this distance? This distance is 5. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the y coordinate or the ordinate here is 5. So y is equal to 4. So I hope you have understood the terms x coordinate and y coordinate or abscissa and ordinate. Now you need to understand y is 5. I'm sorry. Now you need to understand another thing. What if I have my point here? My point P is here. So what do you think the abscissa and the ordinate would be? Now the abscissa is what? The perpendicular distance from the y axis. So perpendicular distance from y axis. This is my y axis. What is the perpendicular distance? It is 4. But how about my ordinate? My ordinate is perpendicular distance from the x axis. So my x axis is here, there is no perpendicular distance. So my y is equal to 0. So do you notice that the ordinate for any point on the x axis is going to be 0. So when you have a point on the x axis, y is going to be 0. To put in simple words. Similarly, if I had my point Q over here. So if I have my point Q over here, my ordinate is the perpendicular distance from the x axis. So my ordinate here is going to be 5. But what is my abscissa? My abscissa is perpendicular distance from the y axis. So perpendicular distance from the y axis, there is no distance. Q is lying on the y axis. So here my x is equal to 0. Got the difference? So if you have a point that is lying on the y axis, then the x coordinate is 0, and vice versa. If you have a point lying on the x axis, then the y coordinate is 0 or the ordinate is 0. Similarly, it would apply for these negative numbers as well. So let us take an example of a negative number as well. If suppose I have a point Q here, I'm just erasing this section. If I have a point Q here, I have my point P here. So I'm just going to draw perpendicular lines. There's nothing really perpendicular, so I'll just mark this in yellow. Hang on. So we need to find the abscissa and the ordinates for points P and Q. So I'll write P and Q. Abscissa and ordinate. So let's check for P. P, the perpendicular distance from the y-axis would be the abscissa or the x-coordinate. So what is the perpendicular distance? It is this distance, which is this. So this is 3. So the abscissa is 3. And what is the ordinate? Ordinate is the perpendicular distance from the x-axis, which is this. So 1. But we are missing out on one thing. Now this, remember when we learned about the quadrants, in the second quadrant we have your x-axis as negative and your y-axis as positive. So your coordinates are going to be represented as negative and positive, which is why this, although the distance is 3, but we will represent it as -3 because it is lying in the second quadrant. Similarly, let's check for Q. First of all, we will check the abscissa, which is the x coordinate. So since this point Q is lying on the y-axis, the abscissa or the x coordinate is going to be 0. How about the ordinate? The ordinate is perpendicular distance from the x-axis. So this is the 1, 2 and 3. So this is going to be 3, but point Q is on the negative side of the number line. So here it will become -3. Got it? So what we'll do is we'll just take a look at whether I have completed or checked all the points. Please give me a moment. And then we'll take a look at the solved examples. Okay, so we have completed all the points. We have taken a look at all the points. What we'll do is we'll take a look at the solved example of your textbooks. So this is solved example on page 56. Let me quickly draw the diagram. This is the origin, this is my x-axis, this is my negative x-axis, this is y, and this is the negative side of y. So I have my axis. Now I'll number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will be drawing these in your graph book, so everything will be equidistant. Okay, just make sure that you have lines intersecting and then you name your name your axis correctly, where the center is the origin represented by 0, 0, then the positive side would be x, the negative side would be x dash. Similarly for the y axis, the positive side is y and the negative side is y dash, and you mark the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Similarly 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6 and so on. The list will keep going on. So what they have done is they have drawn a point P, they have located a point P, M, R and S. So let me just do that. So from 4 to 3. So this is my point P and they have named this as M, this section as N. Similarly, I have -6. And this is R, Q and S. So now they are telling you to find the perpendicular distance of point P from the y axis. So perpendicular distance of point P from the y axis is how much? It is the same as this, right? So perpendicular distance of P from the y axis is Pn. So Pn is how much? It is 3 units, right? 4 units. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this distance, it is making a rectangle here, if you can see. This is 3 units and this is 4 units. So this is a rectangle, everything is at right angle. So Pn is 4 units. Similarly, the perpendicular distance of P from the x-axis. Perpendicular distance of P from the x-axis is the same as On. So Pn is equal to On. Similarly, over here I just missed out, Pn was equal to Om, which was 4 units, and Pn is equal to On, which is 3 units, right? Now let's take a look at the other one, perpendicular distance of Q from the y-axis. So perpendicular distance of Q, look over here, we are just looking for the perpendicular distance. PM. This is PM and PN. Okay, so we are now looking at the perpendicular distance. We are not looking for the coordinates. So the perpendicular distance of Q from the y-axis. So this is my y-axis. So this perpendicular distance would be QS. QS is the same as OR or RO. So I'll say RO. I'll say always from the origin. So OR. So what is the distance OR? OR is from 0 to -6, which is 6 units. I'm not going to say -6 because we are not finding the coordinates. We are just finding the distance, right? And similarly, perpendicular distance of Q from the x-axis. So perpendicular distance of Q from the x-axis, this is my x-axis. So this distance is QR. So QR is equal to OS. So OS is how much? 2 units. Alright. So now we'll locate for the coordinates. So what are the coordinates of point Q? Point Q, this is lying in my third quadrant where both my x and y coordinates are going to be negative. So this is going to be, first of all, -2, -6. -6, -2. Because you take the x coordinate first and then the y coordinate. So -6, -2. Similarly for P, it is going to be 4, 3. Why 4, 3 and nothing negative? Because it's lying in the first quadrant where both my x and y coordinates are positive. So we'll take a look at solved example 1 on page 57. Just let me read it. The abscissa point B 3.11. So I need to draw the diagram for this first. They have given it in your textbooks. Oh, we don't need this, so I'll erase this section also. Always name the origin and your axis first, so it becomes very simple, and then your number line. So here I have these points may not look equidistant because I'm just drawing with a free hand. Please make sure that you're drawing your diagrams correctly because you'll be using a graph paper anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Then again 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Then they have a point B going from so this is your point B. Then you have this is your point S, then point M, this is your point L. So this is the diagram that has been drawn on page 58 of your textbooks, and your questions are on page 57. So we'll take a look at them one by one. The first one, the abscissa for point B. I'm not writing the entire question. For point B, we need to write the abscissa and ordinate and coordinates. So coordinates will be in the form of x comma y. So abscissa is nothing but the x coordinate, which is the perpendicular distance from your y axis. So for OB, for point B, it's the perpendicular distance from your y axis, that's the abscissa. So this is, let's say I call this point Q, or it is this point, this length, perpendicular distance, which is also equal to this distance, right? So the abscissa is going to be 4. And ordinate is what? Perpendicular distance from the y axis. Perpendicular distance from the x axis, which is this. So this distance from 0 to 3 is 3. So the ordinate is 3. Right? Therefore the coordinates are what? X, y. This is the x coordinate 4 and this is 3. Pretty simple. Let's take a look at the second one. This is for point M. So for point M, we need to write the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So x coordinate and y coordinate. And also the coordinates. So again, for point M, where is my point M? My point M is here. I need to find the x coordinate, which is the perpendicular distance from my y axis. So this is the perpendicular distance from y axis, which is the same as this distance. So this is minus 3 over here. So the x coordinate is minus 3. Similarly, y coordinate is the perpendicular distance from my x axis. So it is this distance, which is the same as this distance, which is 4. So it is positive over here. Therefore my y coordinate is 4. And the coordinates are going to be represented by x comma y, which is nothing but minus 3 comma 4. Simple. Let's proceed to the third one. So my third one is for point L. What do we need to find? We need to find again the x coordinate, y coordinate and the coordinates. So x coordinate is equal to and y coordinate is equal to. And coordinates finally. So where is point L? L is here. So L, the x coordinate is perpendicular distance from the y axis. So this is my y axis. Perpendicular distance is going to be this, which is the same as this. So this is negative, which is minus 5. So my x coordinate is minus 5. Similarly, y coordinate is perpendicular distance from the x axis, which is this, which is nothing but 0 to minus 4. So again this is also negative. So y coordinate is minus 4. Therefore coordinates are x comma y, which is minus 5 and minus 4. Let's take a look at the last one. I have point S. So for point S, we again need to find the x coordinate, y coordinate and the coordinate. So x coordinate, also known as the abscissa, is, and y coordinate, also known as the ordinate, is, and finally coordinates, that is used to represent the point S by xy depending on the position of the point in the quadrant. So let's take a look at point S. So my point S is here. Again the x coordinate perpendicular distance from the y axis, which is this, which is again this. So it is 3. Now 3 because not negative 3 because it's lying on the positive x axis, positive side of the x axis. So this is going to be 3, and y coordinate is this. So this length is lying on the negative side of the y axis. So it is minus 4. Therefore my coordinates are what? 3 comma minus 4. So now if you notice, if you take a look at the coordinates now, consider our quadrants. Here both the points are positive. Here the points are negative and positive. Here the points are negative and negative. And here the coordinates are positive and negative. So let's check whether B has both positive. So B has both the terms, both the coordinates positive, right? How about M? So M is in the second quadrant, it has to be negative and positive. Let's check. Yes, we have minus 3 and 4. So again this is done correctly. How about L? L is here, where both have to be negative. Again I have both negative, so done. And finally S is lying in the fourth quadrant where I have positive and negative. So yes, this is also satisfied. So with this I think we wind up with the solved examples. Oh no, we have one more solved example, but we'll take a look at it in the next class.
Hope this video increased your knowledge. For more such videos and a completely free educational content, log on to www.epathshala.org or visit our ePathshala YouTube channel. We have each and every question solved for maths, physics, chemistry and biology. So subscribe our channel, share with your friends, like our Facebook page and follow our Twitter handle for regular updates and important educational tips, and also win ePathshala goodies. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe this channel and enjoy the freedom of education.